Good evening, everyone. Ethan Stuber here with Stuber Weather Forecasting. We've got an update. This is your Friday night update for the winter storm that's coming in Sunday into Monday. I think it's going to be a really high-impact storm across the area, and I'll show you why here in just a second. First up on your screen is the current hazards from the National Weather Service. So everyone in the blue, this is all of us basically, is still in that winter storm watch. I do expect by tomorrow morning, but probably tomorrow morning at some point, we will be upgraded either to a winter storm warning or an ice storm warning, maybe further off to our south. I think primarily winter storm warnings. I think the ice storm, the bulk of the ice storm is going to stay off to the south, just south of us. And you can see that this darker purple shading is that ice storm warning in southern Missouri, with winter storm warnings off to our west from there. Their start time is just a little bit earlier. Winter storm warnings can't be issued more than 24 hours in advance. So that's why those warnings have been upgraded a little bit earlier than around here. First up, what I got to show you is several different model runs. So we'll look at future radar. We'll look at model snow and ice totals. We'll look at the National Weather Service, and then we'll finish up with what I'm thinking. So first up on your screen, this is the Canadian, one of the higher resolution Canadian models from this afternoon. And we can see as we advance this forward into the future, we'll pick this up at midnight, overnight, Sunday night, or Saturday night into Sunday. Snow starts building in. I think we'll start out mostly snow across the area. Around noon at some point, we'll transition over to probably some sleet or freezing rain, especially south of Route 50. And it'll transition back over to snow in the evening hours. I'm showing you the Canadian model because it keeps basically everyone north of Route 50 in an all-snow scenario. Everyone south of Route 50 introduces that wintry mix and the sleet for a short period of time before they transition over to all snow. You'll see what I'm talking about here with the HRRR. This is one of the highest resolution American models that we produce in-house. This doesn't show the entirety of the event yet, but it will kind of give you a picture of that changeover that I was talking about. So again, we'll pick this up at midnight Sunday night. As we go into the future hour by hour, it's a little aggressive with getting the snow in early. I think that's going to wait till closer to daybreak, like this shows here at 6 a.m., maybe starting off with some snow for everybody. That will eventually transition over into the purple there. You see around lunchtime. This is 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon. We're starting to transition south of Route 50 over to some of that wintry mix, ice, sleet, non-snow precip. And then it doesn't see the end of the event, but it will transition over to some snow on the backside of that. So those are kind of our two scenarios. If the low track's just a little bit further north, we see a scenario like what the HRRR is presenting, with some wintry mix along Route 50, maybe just slightly further north and points south. If the low track's just a little bit further south, we could be looking at something that the Canadian is presenting, more of an all-snow scenario, everyone north of Route 50, and some wintry mix off to the south. What I want you to take note of when I talk about this low track wobbling just a little bit, look at the comparison here. Let me line this up. Look at the comparison in the placement of the low pressure systems between the HRRR and the Canadian. This one has it centered really, over the Kentucky-Tennessee state line, right there in southeastern Missouri, in the corner of Kentucky and Tennessee. The Canadian has it about 30, 40 miles to the south. So that's going to really make a difference in who sees all snow in this event and who sees some sleet and freezing rain. That wobble still keeps a lot of us forecasters and meteorologists in kind of a medium confidence area, because I'd like to see that track a little bit closer, and that's where you'll get my final updates tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon at some point. I pulled it up just a second ago. Let's talk snow totals. So I'm going to show you a bunch of different snow total maps. First one is the Canadian global model. So this is the lowest resolution that the Canadians have to offer. It puts basically all of us in a 6 to 10 inch range, maybe a little bit higher amount as you get closer to Vincennes, less as you go off to the south and off to the north. The next one up is the European. Notice it's got less snow totals for us. It's got a band of 6 to 7 inches of snow somewhere between Flora and Olney up towards Oblong, northern Lawrence County. But for the most of us, it keeps the highest totals south of I-70, with north of I-70 only picking up a couple of inches. How about the NAM model? This is the medium resolution American model. It keeps everyone north of I-70 in that 8 to 10, maybe some 12-inch snowfall totals as you get towards Coles and Edgar counties. And then everyone along Route 50, 4 to 6 inches, and it dies off a little bit further south of Route 50. I got one more for you, I think. No, two more for you. This is the mid-range Canadian model. Again, somewhere in the 6 to 7, 8-inch range, maybe a couple 9-inch amounts. You get closer to Vincennes along Route 50. And finally, the HRRR. Again, this doesn't see the entirety of the event, but it puts down a pretty good snowstorm for us, suggesting the entire area somewhere in the 10 to 12-inch range, a little less amounts as you get into our southern counties, 6 to 7 inches. So that's snow. Let's talk ice, because ice has been the big thing this morning. I posted a picture this morning on Facebook of ice totals coming right over Route 50 with some pretty heavy hitting ice. Models have started to shift that south just a little bit, and you can see that here on the NAM. This is, again, middle range American model. It keeps maybe a tenth to 2/10 of an inch of ice in Wayne, Edwards, and Wabash counties, but the bulk of that ice storm falls along the Ohio River. I think this is anywhere further south into southern Illinois, southern Indiana, Evansville over to Louisville, back west to Carbondale, I think is the best area to see those ice storm warnings later tomorrow on Saturday. How about the Canadian model? It paints a pretty similar picture, but with that further south low track, it pulls that highest band of ice a little bit further south into central Kentucky. Last one for you. This is the high-resolution NAM. This is a little bit better picture, mid-range American model. Again, it paints pretty much a similar picture, up to 1/4 of an inch in our southern counties, maybe a little bit higher the further south you go, but the biggest ice storm there, is centered between Carbondale over to Evansville, up towards Louisville. So you kind of get the picture. Heavier ice is going to stay just to the south of us, which is what we want. We don't want a lot of ice in this area. Snow axis has shifted just a little bit further south, too. I don't have a map on here pulled up, but winds on the backside of this storm will also be a factor here, and I'll show you this on future radar. As this storm does begin to push out to the east, we will see these winds kind of wrap around. We could see wind gusts in the 30-mile-an-hour range, so any ice that does form, we'll have to watch for sporadic power outages with that. So make sure you have all your phones charged up, you have your electronics charged up, and you have all those battery backups, and you have generators and all that fun stuff. You've looked over all that. Let's talk snow and ice totals from the National Weather Service. These are statewide snowfall totals put out by the National Weather Service. Notice a big band of anywhere from about 4 to 8 inches stretching from Champaign clear down to Route 50, really the southern edge of Clay, Richland, and Lawrence counties, with a big 6 to 12 inch band stretching right over the heart of the area, really from Jasper County up towards Coles County. That's according to the National Weather Service. How about ice? It wants to put basically everyone south of Route 50, or along and south of Route 50, in 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice. But notice that here the bigger ice storm is located in southern Illinois. Marion could see 6/10 of an inch of ice. That's a lot. So that's what the National Weather Service says. I've put a lot of thought into these maps, really trying to be accurate. and precise to what we are going to see in our neck of the woods. And this is kind of my first call snowcast, what I've come up with. So for snowfall totals, I think along and north of Route 50, we're looking anywhere from 6 to 10 inches. Again, if you get sleet amounts, especially south of I-70 down to Route 50, if we get more sleet, that's going to cut down on the snowfall totals, so bear that in mind. South of Route 50 down, basically for the rest of the viewing area, somewhere in the 4 to 6 inch range. Same rule applied before. You get more sleet, that's less snow, or vice versa. And I think south of that, down towards Evansville, you're in the 1 to 4 inch range with that. How about some ice? North of I-70, I think we're going to stay all snow. So if you're north of I-70, say you're in the Charleston area, or the Paris area, or Toledo, or Greenup, or anything like that, I think we're good on, I think you're out of the ice concern. Anyone south of I-70, basically down towards Fairfield, Albion, and Mount Carmel, I think 1/10 to maybe 2/10 or 1/4 of an inch of ice is possible. Again, it depends on that wobble in the track. South of, basically south of I-64 is where you're really going to get into the north of 1/4 inch of ice up to, potentially 3/4 of an inch of ice down there. That's where the biggest ice storm will be. So that's my numbers. I feel pretty good about that. Any changes I want to make to these or feel necessary to make to these, I will make probably tomorrow morning when some more high-res model data comes out. I'll see if we need to adjust these at all. But that's what we're going with right now. Again, best timing. The watch is in effect from midnight, Saturday night to Sunday, until I believe about noon on Monday. Look for those to be upgraded tomorrow at some point. I'll keep you posted when that happens. Otherwise, this is what we got right now. Stay tuned to the Facebook page for continued weather updates. I'll make sure to post in the morning when those new model runs come in.